Hello again, math friends. Welcome to this episode. Today we're going to be looking at factoring trinomials. We're going to be factor tractors. When we are factoring, we need to remember remember back when we were multiplying two binomials. We used the FOIL method, which was also the distributive property. When we had x plus 4 times x plus 3, we multiplied the x times the x and got x squared. We multiplied the x times the 3 and got 3x. We multiplied 4 times x to get 4x, and we multiplied 4 times 3 to get 12. We combined like terms and got x squared plus 7x plus 12. When we multiplied x minus 3 times x minus 2, we multiplied the x times x and got x squared. X times negative 2 was negative 2x. Negative 3 times x was negative 3x. And negative 3 times negative 2 was positive 6. Combined like terms, we get x squared minus 5x plus 6. Looking back here, we see that in order to get this x squared, we had to have an x here and an x here. And to get a 6, we had to have a 3 here and a 2 here. So let's take a look at some. Here, I know that I'm going to get two binomials. If it factors, we're going to get two binomials. I need the factors that will give me x squared. Well, I know I have to have an x and an x, because x times x gives me that first term, x squared. X times x gives me the x squared, but then we need factors of 4. If we take 4, 4 can be 4 times 1, 4 can be 2 times 2, 4 can be 1 times 4. Those are the only sets of factors of 4. So I'm going to use 4 and 1, and you'll see why in a second. I need a negative 5x squared in the middle. Well, if I take my x and multiply it by, after I've multiplied it by this x to get x squared, we then multiply x times 1 and we would get 1x. And we would then multiply 4 times x and get 4x. And then we would multiply 4 times 1 to get our 4. I need a negative 5x. So if my middle terms are 1x and negative 4 and 4x, I need both of those to be negative so that they would add up to negative 5x. So this needs to be negative and this needs to be negative. So if I multiply this back out, x times x is x squared, negative 1x, negative 4x, those add up to negative 5x, and negative 4 times negative 1 gives me my positive 4. Let's try another one. I know that my factors are going to be x and x here. If we take 6, we know that 6 is 6 times 1. 6 is also 2 times 3. 6 is also 3 times 2, and 6 is also 1 times 6. If I were to use the 6 and the 1, when I multiply my first terms, I get x squared. When I multiply my outsides, I get 1x, and 6 times x is 6x. I need a negative 1x for this middle term. Well, there's no way to get a negative 1 from a 1 and a 6. So those don't work. So the 6 and the 1 don't work. That combination isn't the combination that we need. So let's try 2 and 3. So x times x is x squared. X times 3 would be 3x. 2 times x is 2x. We need a negative 1. Negative 1x is our middle term. I can get that if the 3 is negative and the 2 is positive. So I'm going to make the 3 negative and the 2 positive. X times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is my negative 3x. 2 times x is my 2x. And positive 2 times negative 3 gives me a negative 6. So that works. Sometimes my factor for my first term is not just an x squared term. It may have a constant in front. So I know that in order to get 2x squared, I'm going to have to multiply 2x times x. My factors of 3, those are simple. It's 1 times 3 and 3 times 1. So we have to be careful. If I put the 3 here and the 1 here, let's say, I need a negative 5x. So if I do 2x times 1, I get 2x. 3 times x is 3x. I need a negative 5, which means all of those would have to be negative, and I would get my negative 5x. But look what happens. If I make this negative and this negative, this doesn't work, because negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. So even though it worked up until we got to the last term, it doesn't work. So we need to go back and either try another set of factors, or we need to come in here and let's move those two, and let's put the 3 here and the 1 here. Then we get 6x and 1x, and we can get a negative 5x if we make the 6 negative, which would be here, and the 1x positive. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. 1 times x is positive 1x. And then when we combine those, we get negative 5x. And positive 1 times negative 3 gives me negative 3. So my factors are 2x plus 1 and x minus 3. Sometimes we get some that are a little bit more complicated. 4x squared. 4x squared could be 2x times 2x, or it could be 4x times x. If we start with a 4x and an x, 4x times x is 4x squared. Factors of 5 are just 5 and 1. If I put 5 here and 1 here, 4x times x gives me 20x, and 1 times x gives me 1x. I need 8. Well, there's no way to combine these in any way to get 8. So that didn't work. So we try switching these factors. And if I put the 5 here and the 1 here, I get 4x and I get 5x. We need an 8x. There's no way to combine those in any way to get 8x. Well, we've exhausted our factors of 5, so if that's the case, then we must have the wrong set for the first set. So I'm going to put 2x here and 2x here. And then I'm going to put 5 and 1. When I multiply my outsides, I get 10x. My insides, I get 2x. We need positive 8x. I can get positive 8x if I make the 10 positive and the 2 negative. So the 10 is the 2x times 5. That needs to be positive. And 1 times 2x, that needs to be negative. 2x squared times 2x, 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 5 is 10x. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. Those combine to give me positive 8x. And negative 1 times positive 5 is negative 5. If we take a look at this one, we've got our 6x squared and 6. So for 6x squared, we've got 6x times x, 2x times 3x, and that's about the only sets. So most people would start with what seems to be the logical choice. Factors of 6 are 2 and 3. We'll put 3 there and 2 there, and let's see what happens. Outsides, I get 4x. Insides, I get 9x. I can get a positive 5 if I make the 9 positive and the 4 negative. So the 4 has to be negative. the 9x positive, and if I multiply this out, I get 2x times 3x is 6x squared, 2x times negative 2 is negative 4x, 3x times 3 times 3x is 9x. Combined like terms, I get 5x, and positive 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. So I got it right the first time. That doesn't always happen. On this next one, we've got a little bit more complicated set here. So we've got 12x times x, we'd have 2x times 6x, we'd have 3x times 4x, and those would be our possible sets. So we just need to pick a set and jump in there. I'm going to start with the 3x and the 4x. Factors of 25, well, that's going to be easy. That's going to be 5 times 5 or 25 times 1. I don't think that I need to worry about 25 times 1 because I need a 20, and I don't see that I'm going to get a middle term of 20 if I use 25 as one of my factors. So I'm going to use 5 and 5. Outsides I get 15x. Insides I get 20x. We need a negative 20, and there is no way to get negative 20 from there. I can't switch these because they're both 5s, so that tells me that not only do I have that wrong, I've got this wrong. So let's try 6x and 2x. Put 5 and 5. 6x times 5 is 30x. 5 times 2x is 10x. And I need a negative 20x. If I make the 30 negative and the 10 positive, 6x times 5, that needs to be the negative 30. And 5 times 2x, that needs to be the positive 10. 6x times 2x is 12x squared. 6x times negative 5 is negative 30x. 5 times 2x is positive 10x. Combine those like terms, we get the negative 20x. And positive 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. All right, here our terms got a little bit more complex. We've got 18x squared, so that's of course 18x times x, 2x times 9x, and 3x times 6x. So I'm going to start with 3x and 6x. You just have to pick a set and start. My factors of 1, that's going to be easy. I'm going to have a 1 and a 1. So I'm going to have 3x for outsides. Insides is going to be a 6x. I need 11. That's not going to work. And since I've got 1 and 1, it means that these must be wrong. So let's try 2x and 9x. 2x times 1 is 2x, and 1 times 9x is 9x. We need negative 11. Aha! I can do that if I make both of those negative. So this is negative and this is negative. 2x times 9x is 18x squared. 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x. Negative 1 times 9x is negative 9x. Those add up to negative 11x. And negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. All right, let's take a look at this next one. And, oh, something happened. We're missing that middle x term. Well, I can put one in and do that. So I need x and x, and I need 5 and 5, but I need a 0x. Well, I can do that if I make one negative and one of them positive. X times x is my x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. 5 times x is positive 5x. Those add up to 0x. And 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. This is actually called the difference of two squares. Difference being subtracted, two squares. X squared is a perfect square, 25 is a perfect square. I do have a video that covers a difference of two squares and another video on perfect squares. Take a look at those if you think those will be helpful. And that wraps up this episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
If you liked this video, please click on the thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, please click on the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when new videos are posted, please click the bell.